Happy Friday. It's a pleasure to have you join me here on Rwanda Television News, the news in detail with me, Gloria Mutesi. President Paul Kagame has noted that as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to evolve, often in an unpredictable manner, much more needs to be done to remove barriers to affordability and equitable distribution. The Rwandan head of state has made the comments as it has now been a year since the Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator initiative was first launched.
Excellencies, WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to join you in marking this first anniversary of the Access to COVID-19 Tools Accelerator and commend Dr. Tedros and the WHO for leading this important response to the global pandemic. For many developing countries, the ACT Accelerator has been the only way to access life-saving COVID-19 testing kits, vaccines, and treatment. As the pandemic continues to evolve, often in an unpredictable manner, much more needs to be done to remove barriers to affordability and equitable distribution. In particular, Africa lags behind in the manufacture of vital products for COVID-19 prevention and management. Efforts are underway to build this capacity, but this requires support across the board to ensure that it's done properly and quickly enough to make a difference in the ongoing pandemic and improve preparedness for the next one. Rwanda remains committed to the goals of the ACT Accelerator. By now, there are lessons to learn in order to make this effort more effective. We will continue to work together with the WHO and other partners to defeat the COVID-19 pandemic.
Pressure has increased for the UK government to see that 5 genocide suspects living in that country are brought to justice. They are suspected of crimes committed during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi here in Rwanda. Stationary has more.
It has now been 27 years since the genocide that was perpetrated against the Tutsi in Rwanda, yet there are still genocide suspects living free abroad, their identities and addresses known by law enforcement agencies. These include Vincent Bajinya, Celestine Ugirashebuja, Charles Munyaneza, Emmanuel Nteziryayo and Celestine Mutabaruka, all living in the UK. That glaring truth has now become far too embarrassingly obvious for that country's parliamentarians to ignore, and an all-party parliamentary group has been established specifically to urge the UK government to bring to justice the 5 alleged genocidaires living there.
On 7th of December, I spoke to the Noble Lord Alton's genocide amendment, and I raised the matter of the 5 alleged Rwandan genocide perpetrators living freely in Britain. And I once again call on the Minister to ensure that this matter is dealt with before Chogam in Rwanda in June. Could the Minister explain the delay? Rwanda is proud to host Chogam and values its relations with the UK. But the report states, and I quote, that we will mediation, the women, peace and security agenda and promoting good governance and human rights. A fine list. But if we talk about good governance and human rights, my lords, we should lead by example.
Rwanda issued arrest warrants for the 5 men back in 2013, but nothing has been done to bring them to justice. Dr. Vincent Bajinya, one of former President Juvenal Habyarimana's inner circle members, is widely seen as one of the masterminds behind the planning and execution of the genocide that was perpetrated against the Tutsi, while Celestine Ugirashebuja, Charles Munyaneza and Emmanuel Nteziryayo were all Burgomasters in what used to be Gikongoro Prefecture. Celestine Mutabaruka was heading the project Kret Zail Nil at that time. The UK's behaviour on this matter is in direct violation of the UN's Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide.
ukekwaho kuba yarakoze jenoside cyangwa hari ibimenyetso bigaragaza ko ashobora kuba yarabigizemo uruhare abuzwa uburenganzira.
Any genocide suspect, or if there's any indication that an individual could have played a role in the atrocities, then they cannot be granted asylum, and that is the first agreement the UK failed to honor. Secondly, some of them were given citizenship. For example, Dr. Virginia got it and even changed his name to Mr. Brown. Thirdly, the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide also specifies that any country that received a genocide suspect must either try that person for their crimes or send them back to the country where the atrocities were committed so that they may face justice, or any other country willing to try them. The UK has done none of that so far. The UK is also one of 2 countries globally that still does not call the genocide against the Tutsi by its proper name. Rwanda's leaders find it shameful that any country should protect people accused of such serious crimes.
When these genocide suspects are granted safe haven and extradition requests refused, it has a direct consequence, and we have seen a massive increase in genocide denial and revisionism, which will take years to reverse. There are places where there are about 4 or 5 genocide suspects. Files are very clear. We talked to the country hosting them. We begged them. We said, case files are ready, they are here. Can you please give them to us for trial? The answer was no, we have no extradition treaty, we have this, we don't trust your courts, we don't trust your laws, we don't. Okay, we said, fine. So, can you try them in your courts of law? And then even after that request, they still have excuses for not. And you say, but why don't you do that? Are you not ashamed of protecting genocide suspects?
For close to 6 years, the UK has investigated the 5 genocide suspects, spending close to £4.4 million in the process, but the men are still free in that country.
The management of the Association of Microfinance Institutions in Rwanda says that although the use of technology in making transactions in up to 457 microfinance institutions has reached only 10%, by 2025, all these institutions would have fully embraced the use of technology. Umgadi Jed has more.
Across the country, there are still people who spend more than 30 minutes making transactions from microfinance institutions, something they believe is a challenge to them.
It takes a long time to make the transaction, plus the trip I make to and from the microfinance institution to make the transaction. I could easily do that on the phone, and I continue with my other daily activities. There is a study we did where we found that a person goes to the bank to make transactions about 5 times a month, with each time taking about 2 hours and a fee of 751 Rwandan francs paid, meaning that's about 3,500 to 4,000 Rwandan francs monthly. Add transport to that. Instead of paying all that, they could simply just pay 100 Rwandan francs, which is way better.
CEO of AD Finance, a provider of innovative IT solutions to the microfinance industry in Africa, said that among the 6 countries they operate in, Rwanda is making the service easier for the public at a very low cost.
We used to spend the entire day queuing, and now someone is able to withdraw money wherever they need to. It also helps one's business to continue. When we use day laborers for agricultural work, we are able to withdraw the money immediately and pay them and send it through our phones. We no longer need to queue at the bank for a long time.
Damien Habimana is one of the 109,000 people from the 12 companies that work with AD Finance who make digital transactions of more than 9 billion Rwanda francs. These institutions have more than 4 million members, but only 10% of those 457 institutions have the technology to facilitate digital transactions. However, the executive director of the Association of Microfinance Institutions says the required equipment will be distributed in all institutions no later than 2025.
The first phase, what we called the pilot phase at the SACCO, is complete and it went well. The following phase is to extend to all other SACCO offices and begin building it up together. This is one project to collect and integrate technology. We also have to place technology in other SACCOs other than these sector SACCOs. We have about 11, and if that technology goes well, there are plans to put it in big companies.
Rwanda's central bank recently released a report showing that the number of mobile phone users in payments and remittances, including deposits and withdrawals from their accounts, increased by 13% between 2019 and 2020, from 4,139,075 users to 4,688,124 users in 2020. Umngari Jade, RTV News.
As the process of installing speed cameras continues, the Rwanda National Police is urging drivers to strive for traffic safety instead of being scared of them, as these cameras help the police to maintain road safety. Jane Mutani continues.
These speed cameras are becoming more and more common in Rwanda's roads. These cameras are placed in road signs in order to monitor drivers who disobey the sign or exceed the speed limit, as they capture the information of the vehicle and will be fined. While some are fixed in one place, others are mobile. Some drivers express their thoughts on these cameras. I have no problem with the cameras because they are placed at road signs. So when I see a sign, I do what it says. We want the cameras to be visible enough and not hidden in order to reduce the risk of knocking them. There are already a number of technology-based measures aimed at reducing traffic accidents, including speed governors and public safety campaigns such as Gerayo Amahoro and others. Drivers who work in transportation services say they have witnessed a significant change since the cameras were put on the streets. When one sees the camera, he or she immediately obeys the road sign because they know if they don't, it will capture the information of the vehicle. So due to this fear, motorcyclists are no longer speedy, hence accidents have reduced. In an interview with RBA, the Rwanda National Police spokesperson John Bosco Kabera advises road users to abide by the traffic guidelines, as these cameras have come to aid of police officers in maintaining road safety. Since road users are aware of the traffic guidelines and know how to drive along with the existing campaigns like Gerayo Amahoro, then such a person who disobeys the guidelines will be answerable for the crimes to the police, or better yet, the cameras will collect the details of their cars. We are in process of putting more cameras in other provinces as well. As for the fact that these cameras are sometimes hidden, the police says it is the duty of people to obey the traffic guidelines and do not need prior warning as to the location of the cameras. Jane Mutoni, reporting for RTV.
Thank you, Jane. Now, as part of Earth Day celebrations, the Democratic Green Party is calling for urgent action on the problem of pollution and proper waste management in the Nyabarongo River and the Nile Basin in Rwanda. Gabi Muvunyi continues with this report.
The Democratic Green Party of Rwanda has expressed concern over the level of water pollution in the Nyabarongo River during a two-day meeting organized by the party. The president of DGPR highlights some of the major pollutants of the river.
I find that a lot of things coming from homes, like food remainings, peppers, pampers, a lot of things. People just pack them and sometimes they throw them directly into the river. Also we have industrial waste, things from, there are a lot of garages there in Gasiata, Nyabugogo area. We have found mechanics, they were fixing this or that, they're fixing cars, they are repairing this, are doing, and all the water, even that oil, they just throw it into the river. It is affecting our livelihood, of course, it is affecting our health, because some people are drinking that water. They're still drinking water from Nyabarongo, from Nyabugogo, they're still drinking it.
Some of the residents in Nyabugogo say they are aware that this pollution is caused by residents living next to the river. Most of this waste comes from people's homes. The rain also carries some waste from the surrounding hills into the river as well.
There's a bad smell in the air around this place because of the garbage in the river. And in some cases, sewage waste finds its way into the river.
The DGPR says that their contribution towards environmental protection is underway by conducting extensive research on ways this river can be cleaned and made safe for the sake of the residents that live along it.
Now is that we didn't want to start up saying things when we didn't have a proper data. So we said, let's have a proper study, a research. Let's have research findings. That's what we have done. So today we're presenting an inception report, and we'll have a proper full report afterwards, maybe in 1 month or two, when we have a full report, which we'll share to the media and the public. So this was the first step, so identification of the problems. So we have identified the problems, and as I said, I visited the river Nyabugogo on Tuesday. On Wednesday, and we identified some problems. We found that it has become a dumping site. The river is actually a dumping site, part of it, and we mentioned this publicly, and the City of Kigali yesterday informed us that they are taking care of the problem at the moment.
Executive Director of the Rural Environment and Development Organization, Dr. Damascene Gashumba, says a study is being conducted to assess the extent of the pollution in the river and the Nile Basin area.
To begin with, the government of Rwanda demolished the factories in the Gikondo catchment area. They planted bamboo along the river banks, but there are some things that have not been done yet. We asked the Nduba factory area should be renovated. Another thing is that there are several garages located in that area that are dumping their waste into the river and polluting it.
The Nyabugogo River, which flows into Nyabarongo River, is the distant source of the River Nile. The river runs through Kigali, near the city's main bus park in Nyabugogo. While its water initially flows clear from Lake Muhazi, along the way it turns brown due to the pollution. These issues were highlighted during the meeting held by DGPR on World Earth Day that is celebrated annually on the 22nd of April. Gabi Muvunyi for RTV.
Unfortunately, our time is fast spent, so we'll leave it at that. But thank you for the privilege of your time. And as always, of course, the plan stays the same. Wear your face mask and do all that is required of you to stop the spread of the pandemic. Enjoy the weekend and see you again soon. Bye for now.